Hello, my name is Brian Kirsch, and today we're going to be talking about SaaS and how it applies to your environment. Now, full disclosure, this is actually my third time recording this video, and I'm on my second video software package doing it. For some reason, the original one I was using decided to dump the audio both times I did it, so hopefully we'll get it out this time. Hopefully. So, with that being said, let's talk about SaaS, where this is kind of where it came from, what it's doing to our data centers, and a little bit of history with it. So when the original application stack was, the application, the operating system, the server, something we have all known for many years, and when virtualization came around, it absolutely changed the game for that. We basically changed where the hardware stack and how it worked. So that ability to sandbox things and isolate allowed much greater density. We saw data centers, footprint shrinking by 70-80% was not uncommon. That was part one. That's what occurred. We saw the massive growth of VMware and other virtualization platforms. And that's kind of been the way things are going, but it also enabled something. It enabled the cloud. And the cloud took off because of the virtualization aspect and creating that density. The SaaS stuff is software as a service, and this is taking software from the on-premise, which was always in our data center, then virtualized. Now it's just putting it into the cloud. And rather than giving you the entire piece of it, it's giving you just the application side. So an email admin might no longer have access to the back-end stuff, but the front-end management tools, whereas the back-end piece is handled by the SaaS provider. So how is this affecting everything today? Well, if you look at your modern data center, either most things are virtualized or they're just giant racks of storage for, let's say, video cameras and that. Your modern data center for a company, not a web provider or anything like that, but for a company has shrunk. And the more that key applications, whether it be electronic health record system, learning management system, or some kind of a billing system, all of those being pushed out to the cloud means you need less physical hardware on site. Because of that data center footprint is shrinking. Now, I know how some people get, and I have felt the same way. Moving all your key stuff into the cloud can be absolutely terrifying. That is something that feeling is not going to go away anytime soon. Because once you do that, once you push off into the cloud, you lose control. Yeah, you got a contact phone number, things like that, but that's what you have. You don't have it where you can actually see it on site anymore. And losing that is a really big deal. And without a doubt, people get nervous with it, and I don't blame them. That is something that is absolutely critical. Now, with that being said, you used to have a choice in this. And what I mean by that is you could buy software package A or, use a SaaS offering. That's what the vendors allowed you to do. However, that's not necessarily what's continuing to happen. And what I mean by that is when you look at a vendor selling you an email system, they can have you do a capital purchase once, you keep it for 2-3 years, you do an upgrade to it, but it's a one-time fee. So that company that you buy it from gets that money at a one-shot deal. That sounds great, but it's a big influx, but it's one time. When you go into a SaaS-based offering, it is a operational cost. It is a per monthly cost. And that is a continual revenue stream. So now what you have is companies trading the one-time purchase for the continual revenue stream. Even if they were the same amount, getting that money, over the length of over 3 years can be better on your books. And often you end up paying a little bit more, to be honest. because it's either consumption demand or quantity, and people tend to go above and beyond that. So there's more of an opportunity to gather more money that way. So you are seeing companies not just encourage the SaaS, but force companies into it. Microsoft is a great example. This is the last release of Exchange on site. After that, you're in the cloud-based. That was a strategic decision by them. Maybe some people aren't happy, but what are you going to do? You can switch to something else. That's always an option. But I don't know if it really is. We often say that we could do that, but realistically, the sheer amount of retraining and just setting up something new, people just look at it and go, okay, fine, we'll just do it and be done. And it ends up being the least evil choice, I guess, at the end of the day. That's behavior is not going to stop. Companies are not going to slow down pushing people into the SaaS-based stuff. I would love to say it would reverse course at some point. It's not going to. The accounting aspect of it alone is much more beneficial. Now, is it better, from a stability point or performance? That is really a little bit up in the air. When you have a major outage with a cloud provider, SaaS provider, everybody knows about it because it affects a majority of the end users with it. So you have to balance that. And that can be a real concern. And that's a risk you have to accept. And you accept that by, signing that contract on the SaaS side. And while you can pay for additional support and all that, keep in mind, if something major happens, at the end of the day, you are one of a lot of people. So there will be a lot of people on that phone, and you got to be willing to accept that. And even if you're not willing to accept it, it just might be the only choice you have, unfortunately. So that's kind of what the SaaS is and how it's coming into the modern data center, and not necessarily just the choices you have, because some of the choices you no longer have, but it's what we have to work with now. And you can embrace it, you can fight it kicking and screaming, but the offering's not going to change. And what I would definitely tell you is the third-party solutions you think might be ideal, easy to do, what have you, often never are as simple or as clean-cut as what you might want or hope. And that's the challenge of when you take a dominant application and there's not really a lot of competition to it. So it might not be the best news you wanted to hear, but at least if you're aware of it and you know kind of where things are going with it, you can better prepare for it and hopefully one day even embrace it. Thank you again. Again, my name is Brian Kirsch.